As you're starting your car detailing business, one question that would run through your head quite often is whether or not you should take your own pressure washer, water tank, or should you just use the customer's water supply and their garden hose. So in this video, I'm going to talk about one or the other, the pros and cons of it, and my personal opinion on whether you should use a pressure washer or garden hose, and that exact definition of, do you use a pressure washer or a garden hose? And number two is whether you should actually take your own water supply, water tank, generator, pressure washer, or just use what the customer has at their location. So pros to pressure washer is, of course, it has strong pressure to knock off the dirt, bugs, gunk, etc. from the paint. You're able to use a foam cannon, so if you want to foam it down if it's really bad, if you want to foam it down before, so you can clay it instead of having clay lube, you just foam it down and clay like that. And it's very useful for really bad wheels, tires, and fenders because, if someone hasn't cleaned their wheels and tires and fenders for months and even years, then it's going to be caked on dirt all inside the fender. The brake disc could be quite bad. So it definitely helps to have a pressure washer in those instances. Now, some cons to taking a pressure washer is it does take up space in your mobile rig. So if you are in a sedan, in a coupe, a truck, a small truck, not in a full-sized van or perhaps a dedicated mobile rig, then it will take up quite a bit of space in your mobile rig where you will be limited on space, maybe a bit more tight. So that you got to think of that because again, if you're gonna take a pressure washer, you may need to take a water tank. You may need to take a generator. You don't necessarily have to do that. You can also use the customer's water supply just to hook up your pressure washer. But it just depends, but it can take up quite a bit of space for the equipment you need to take for that. It does take more time to set up and break down. Because again, if you have an electrical pressure washer, you have to hook up the cord and then you have to hook up the hose. And then if the hose itself is not in the best position or it's kinky or it's not, long enough, whatever it may be, it'll add more hassle to your setup. And then another thing you have to think about is the neighbors around the residential area that you're in. So if you are at a neighborhood or an apartment complex, then if you get there at 8:30, even 9, and you crank up your generator if you're taking that, and a pressure washer, and you just immediately start spraying water everywhere, it'll get on the mist of the water is going to get on other people's cars. You're going to create puddles. People walk by, they're going to get their feet wet. They're going to go into their car and get their car wet. Or same thing if you're at a house and you're spraying all this water, kids, parents are walking by, they go back into their house, their shoes are wet, their floors get wet. So that's just something you have to keep in mind in terms of, what others are doing around you, whether it be through the noise you're creating or through the surface that you're getting wet. People may not like that. Apartment complexes may not allow that, where they'll, kick you out perhaps, or just tell you to not use that. So just something to keep in the back of your head. And then a lot of times using the pressure washer is simply overkill, and it's due to the fact of the detailer thinking what they need to do. So, if it just needs, if you're going for a basic wash and wax, let's say, a lot of times I'll see detailers going, rinsing it down initially, foaming it down and washing it, rinsing it again, foaming it again to do the clay phase, and then rinsing it down again. That is if that's your proper method of doing so, then by all means do it. But that is overkill to the absolute fullest. There's dozens of other methods that you can do to wash to clay that will give you the same results without using so much water and so much product to get it done. So yes, I will say that is overkill a lot of times, where you want to rinse it down, rinse on the wheels, foam it down, rinse it down. A lot of rinsing for it's kind of not pointless, but again, because if that's your method, by all means do so. But there are other methods now available that will get you just as good results without going through that mess of using so much water and taking up so much time. Now we can move on to the pros of a garden hose, and this is assuming you're going to use a customer's one, so you're going to use their water supply. Number one being, again, like I said, you can use a customer's water supply, so you don't need to take your own, your own water tank or your own hose, I should say. You can just use theirs. Able to use a foam gun if you'd like. Again, not as sudsy, nowhere near as sudsy as the foam cannon that connects to the pressure washer, but again, you can still use it if you'd like. And then the setup time and breakdown is much less because, again, you are using what they have at their location. So you get there, you walk to their to where they have their garden hose, you get it, you go to your vehicle, and you start going. So that is definitely a big benefit because it's all there. You don't have to carry it in your own van, and you can just use their own supply. Now, cons to the to using a garden hose is it has very weak pressure. So if you are trying to knock off dirt, bugs from the paint, it won't be nowhere near as effective as if you had a pressure washer, or effective at all, really, depending on how bad it is. Depending on the hose that the customer has, it could be kinky, it could have holes, it could be kind of rusted out, the actual hose attachment. So it'd be difficult for you to take off the attachment if you want to use your own, whatever the case may be. But that can be a potential problem you run into if you're just relying on the customer's supply. And also, it's a hassle if to get around the cars. So maybe the car that you're gonna detail is at the end of the driveway, and you have to maneuver the garden hose through the cars, or under the cars, or it doesn't reach. That may be it. So again, or it may not reach in itself. So that can also be a potential problem. Again, you could do things like move the cars around, or figure something out. I'm not make it fit your situation, but that's also a potential problem that can arise if you use your own customer's supply. Now, the big question and comment I hear all the time is, but doesn't a pressure washer help you wash your car faster or detail the car faster because it's more pressure? You'll knock it off quicker. Why doesn't it help me? I would assume it goes faster. And in my opinion, it takes longer to set up a pressure washer, and this is regardless if you use an electrical or gas pressure washer, especially electrical, because you gotta hook up both links to the pressure washer. But that's just my opinion. I recommend only using a garden hose for the wheels and tires. So instead of rinsing down the entire car, rinsing down the wheels, the fenders, the tires, wanting to foam it down, the only thing I use the water for is the wheels and tires. If the paint is really, really bad and there's caked on dirt, then I'll spray some APC and rinse down the bottom portions of the rocker panels, or the bottom half of the car, because that's where it's most dirty. But other than that, I rarely do I ever rinse down the car, because especially with a garden hose, it's absolutely pointless. You're not gonna knock anything off. If there's pollen, then yeah, you can also do that. It'll help. But again, if you're in the dead heat, then you don't really want to mist down the entire car anyhow, because it'll dry rather quickly. And depending on the location that you're in during pollen season, the pollen is just going to sit in that water, and then it's going to create more problems for you. So you really have to look at the situation that you're in. But I, for the most part, only use water, like an actual hose, for the wheels and tires. And if needed, absolutely needed, which not really is, I'll spray some APC on the bottom rocker panels and then spray it down. And even that doesn't always get 50% off. So it's not gonna make or break my detail. And now, there, like I've been saying, there are many different ways to wash a car now. There are different methods. It's not just your traditional 2-bucket wash method, your rinseless and your washless. There's different, systems, methods that people have created to allow you to get great results with, using less water, less product, in a quicker time frame. So you just, have an open mind and seeing if one of those would work for you. Give it a try, test it out, see if it performs, if it outperforms. If the results aren't as good, then go back to your ways. But just saying that there are other methods out there to complete the job than what you're currently doing, regardless of what you are doing. So my recommendations are always to not buy a pressure washer when you're first starting off. Use the customer's water supply, because I'm telling you, 99.9% of the time, they are not going to care and they're not going to mind. Because, out of all the customers that I ever serviced at their location, whether it be apartments or at their residential house, they have never said anything negative or were hesitant on allowing me to use their water or power source. It just, I'm sure that at some point in my career, I will have someone say something or be hesitant on letting me use their water and power supply, but that has yet to happen. So I have not had any bad experiences. I haven't heard of many detailers going through any bad situation whatsoever. So as of now, I'll say just it's absolutely okay. The customer is probably expecting it. I'm sure they prefer you use their power instead of running a generator for however long, because it's much quieter, it's much more convenient. Now, if you do see a lot of customers that are off-site, so that they have no access to water or power, then buy the necessary equipment to get the job done. So, if you're not doing many washes, but you are doing a lot of interior details that are off site, then it makes sense to pull that trigger for a generator. And vice versa, if you are doing a lot of washes or something that needs the pressure washer and the generator, then by all means pull the trigger on that, get the water tank so you can service those customers off site and make money. But don't just buy a pressure washer, a generator, a water tank starting off, because you're not even sure if you're gonna do that. Like, I bought a generator when I first started, but 99% of the time I was ending up at residential homes, so I really didn't have a need for a generator. Now, could I have still used it? Yeah, of course, but like I said, the convenience of using their power instead of running the machine, making noise, wasting oil and gas, and keeping up with maintenance, I could just use their power supply. It's right there. I can hook it up within 10 seconds of getting on their house, instead of bringing down the generator, moving it away, turning it on, running it for a little bit. It just using their power sources was much easier. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and leave your comments down below on your thoughts on using a pressure washer versus their water or just a garden hose. Other than that, I'll see you on the next video. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe, leave that comment down below. And again, if you want to start or grow your own car detailing business, check the descriptions down below for more information so I can help you with that. See you on the next one.